Well, away from that, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga has revived the push to have rejected votes included in the computation of poll percentages of presidential candidates to determine if they meet the 50% plus one threshold. In his petition challenging the victory of President-elect William Ruto, Odinga wants the court to give a fresh consideration to the pool of rejected votes, which the former Prime Minister says is significant enough to declare the winner in a presidential election. But as our senior political affairs reporter Murimi Mwangi explains, this prayer by Odinga's legal team, which now threatens Ruto's victory on account of the 50% plus one threshold, has been previously rejected by the Supreme Court back in 2013 and of course in 2017. So what's different this time round?
When then National Alliance Party leader Uhuru Kenyatta teamed up with his United Republican Party's William Ruto in 2013, the duo had a simple master plan to power. But there was one problem as the then Isaac Hassan-led Electoral Commission IEBC went about tabulating the 2013 presidential results. The monster of spoiled votes that kept on rising and threatened to deny the dynamic duo the mandatory constitutional threshold of at least 50% plus one vote, prompting the urgent need of former Kenyatta digital strategist Dennis Itumbi, his political tactician Moses Kuria, and one Florence Jematia to rush to the Supreme Court seeking a directive to bar the IEBC from including rejected votes in computation of the presidential candidates' individual vote percentages against the total tally.
As to whether the rejected votes ought to have been included in determining the final tally of votes in favor of each of the presidential candidates by the second respondent, it is the decision of the court that such rejected votes ought not to have been included.
But turns out the rejected votes monster would be with the Kenyan Supreme Court for the longest time. In 2017, the former Chief Justice David Maraga-led bench rejected a call by Odinga for the court to depart from the Mutunga bench finding. And now, for the third time, Odinga has placed the very prayer before the Chief Justice Martha Koome-led bench set to hear his petition, challenging the victory of President-elect William Ruto.
That issue of valid votes is not, it's based on a reasonable argument that you're looking at the people who made a choice. You see, you're saying how many people voted in favor of, it's 50% plus one person. So you need a person who made a choice. A rejected vote includes somebody who did not vote at all.
Odinga argues that rejected votes represent a legitimate percentage of people that physically turned up to vote on election day and therefore ought to count in the compilation of the total votes cast and the percentages of each presidential candidate's performance against the grand total. Ruto was declared winner with 50.5% of all the valid votes cast. Odinga's legal team now hoping their argument is admitted by the court to increase the total pool of votes against which the candidates' percentages are calculated as a scheme to lower the tally below 50% to deny him a round one victory and occasion a likely runoff.
If the allegations are not substantial so as to actually tilt the outcome, then it would be a subversion of the will of the people if you start paying attention to decimals and fractions and all that.
That is not without foundation. But having said that, it is the Supreme Court. I would be surprised myself that they would make a finding contrary to what they decided and which became the basis on which the returning officer made the determination.
In 2013, Uhuru clinched the presidency with 50.5% of valid votes, a figure that would have drastically reduced to a meager 50.07% had the spoilt votes been included in the final tabulation, in which case Kenyatta would have surpassed the 50% mark by a meager 0.07%. At the time representing just over 8,000 votes in the bitterly disputed election. In the current case, Ruto was declared winner with 50.5% of the 14.2 million valid votes cast, having surpassed the 50% mark by 0.5%, representing slightly over 70,000 votes. A figure at the center of Commission Chair Wafula Chebukati's dispute with 4 other commissioners, including queries on the number of rejected votes in the 2022 general election, which was not indicated in the final declaration. Yet again, the delicate balance between the legal mechanics of the polls and the mathematics of the final tally in the just concluded presidential polls confronts the Kenyan Supreme Court, as Odinga for the 3rd time seeks closure on the place of rejected votes in the final declaration. Muremi Mwangi, KTN News, in Nairobi.
Right, the next coming weeks will be definitely interesting, a defining time